Your Majesty has a decree that the Marquis of Qiang died of illness, and I mourn him. However, his son Liu Yan has misbehavior, and he should not be allowed to inherit the title, but I pity his father for his national merit and downgrade his title from a first-class marquis as a third-class uncle, and he goes to the fief on the same day. He cannot stay there, and his marriage contract with the daughter of Prime Minister Su has been dissolved, and I am here. After the sent to declare the decree, he left without stopping. Liu Yan supported his thin body and stood up expressionlessly, and the attendant on the side quickly supported Liu Yan. Downgrade, break off the marriage, and drive out of the capital. Oh, your father just died of illness, so can't you wait? In the past, the Ho's mansion, which was like a city, is now a desolate place. My father just passed away, but there are not many people who even come to pay homage. It is worthy of the emperor's feet, and the human nature is so weak. Too long. Master, what shall we do next? Lu Zhong, one of the few servants left in the Ho residence. Of course I'm going to the fief. Your Majesty's purpose is so clear, what can I do? Liu Yan's calm voice was faintly cold. But Qiang is in the southern border. It's so far away, and it's still fighting. Are we going to die? Lu Zhong was a little anxious, worried for his master. Seeing the worry on Lu Zhong's face, Liu Yan's heart also warmed a bit, at least the young man in front of him really cared about him. Lu Zhong, although going here is dangerous, but I have no way out, but you are not. Your body deed is in the east wing. After you take it away and tear it up, you are free. Liu Yan patted it. He patted Lu Zhong on the shoulder and said softly. However, Lu Zhong was stunned when he heard the words, and then he knelt down directly in front of Liu Yan and said in a choked voice, "Young master, don't drive Lu Zhong away." Lu Zhong's life was saved by the young master. Where is the young master going, Lu Zhong? Zhong will go wherever. If the young master really wants to drive Lu Zhong away, then kill Lu Zhong first. Having said that, Lu Zhong burst into tears at Liu Yan's feet, and Liu Yan sighed with a complicated expression upon seeing this. Lu Zhong, what a loyal. Liu Yan helped Lu Zhong up and said, I don't mean to drive you away, but there are bound to be dangers along the way. I don't want you to lose your life in vain. At this time, Lu Zhong said with red eyes, Lu Zhong is not afraid. Liu Yan nodded, since you are not afraid, then come with me. Next, Liu Yan sent all the servants in the home mansion away one by one, and also gave them some money to break up the group. Some of them expressed gratitude, but Lu Zhong was unwilling to leave, but none, Liu Yan doesn't have any other ideas. This is the case in the world. It is instinct to seek benefits and avoid harm. It is impossible for everyone to be like Lu Zhong. He has already prepared for this. In fact, they have only left now. The above is faithful. And for Liu Yan, this is also a good thing. If there are more Lu Zhong like this, he will also be under pressure. After everything was ready, it was the next day. The Ho residence was assigned by the imperial court. As soon as Liu Yan left, people from the government came to take over. Most of the items in Liu Yan were sold at a low price. I have been an official for many years, but I don't have much savings in my hands. I can only make a fortune by selling my property at a low price. Liu Yan's departure did not cause too much turbulence in this Shengjing city. Even if there were people who were interested, it was only ridicule and ridicule. On the ancient road outside Shengjing, there were two people and a carriage. Liu Yan turned his head and glanced at the majestic capital behind him. There was no memory in his eyes, and there was no anger or unwillingness in his eyes. There was only a flame called ambition. He firmly believed that it would not be long before the flames would burn the capital. In the 15,007 Tione year of the celestial calendar, the king of the Dacian dynasty died, the palace of the 6 emperors changed, the prince was killed, and he ascended the throne the next day. But these are not important to Liu Yan. He has just left Shengjing for about half a month. Lu Yan has a secret. He is actually a transmigrator, but if he investigates it carefully, he is not. Now Lu Yan actually has two worlds and memories of two souls. A fusion of two souls. However, these are not very important. The important thing is that Lu Yan, who has the memory of the earth, actually has a system, and it is a very good system. This is why Lu Yan has no reaction to leaving Shengjing. Wide sea diving, sky high the birds to fly. For Lu Yan, although Shengjing is good, it is a layer of restraint. On the contrary, Qiang City in the southern border is mixed with fish and dragons, and there is more room for Lu Yan to play in a chaotic place. According to the lines in a certain drama on earth, chaos is the ladder. As for this change in the palace, it is even more good for Lu Yan. The more chaos he has, the more opportunities he will have. If Dashan is long-lasting and the world is peaceful, Lu Yan will be in a dilemma. However, for Lu Yan at this time, these lofty goals and long-term plans are all things to come. Lu Yan, who has just stepped out of Shengjing, quickly understands how chaotic this world really is. Dashan has 6 prefectures. In addition to Qinzhou, where the capital of Shengjing is located, there are Shizhou, Dingzhou, Huazhou, Yanzhou, and Mingzhou. Among them, Lu Yan's fief Qiang City is in Mingzhou, the southernmost point of the Dashan dynasty. Known as the southern border, it borders on the Daliang dynasty. The wars are perennial and the local barbarians are tyrannical. In addition, the land is barren and the population is sparse. It has always been unstable, and even the imperial court is reluctant to do more management. Qiang is one of the 12 important cities in Mingzhou and the southern border. It has long been the bridgehead in the war between Dashan and Daliang, and the relative forces are naturally more complicated. Normally, the imperial court uses these places as the fiefs for the canonization of the marquis, which is usually just a formal name, and basically does not really come to the fiefs, but this time Lu Yan was regarded as being messed up and driven to this place. The fief, in essence, is no different from exile, and even judging from the chaos in this place, it has a bit more meaning to let Lu Yan come to die. Lu Yan himself is very clear about this, but there is no way to do it today. Although he has a system in his hand, he has only just obtained it. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com cannot exert any power at all. It is better to take advantage of the situation. Anwei, left Shengjing, slowly accumulated strength in places like southern border, and then made a comeback. The so-called Shen Sheng died inside, and Chang Er was safe outside. With the help of the system Lu Yan, although he has nothing now, he may not be able to break into the world in the future. At this time, Lu Yan and Lu Zhong had just left Qinzhou, where Shengjing was located, and entered the boundary of Shizhou, and found that many refugees were walking on the official road. Master, it seems that they are all refugees from the south. I heard that there is another war in the southern border. There was a trace of worry in Lu Zhong's words. Now it seems that the danger is not only on the road, but also in Qiang. Unable to live in peace, he then said to Lu Yan, "Why don't we hire a few experts to guard us, or if we encounter horse bandits and robbers, we won't be able to protect ourselves." As for Lu Zhong's concerns, Lu Yan naturally understands that this world is not a world of mortals, but a world of warriors, and warriors are far more powerful than those depicted in martial arts novels on Earth. The terrifying existence that can move mountains and reclaim seas and kill thousands of people with one sword is only a legendary level, but it is enough to show that this world is more like a fantasy world than the conventional martial arts world. No, we have stronger people to protect us. Lu Yan's eyes fell into the distance, and his voice carried a hint of excitement. Hey! Lu Zhong was a little puzzled by Lu Yan's words. At this time, I saw their position to the north, and suddenly there was sand and dust. That is. Lu Zhong seemed a little stunned. And then they saw this cloud of sand and dust approaching them, and the speed was very fast. Lu Zhong subconsciously stood in front of Lu Yan, but Lu Yan's face did not show the slightest panic. "My lord, Li Ju, Guo is late. Last General Li Ju, Guo, see your lord." Lu Yan looked at the two big men kneeling in front of him with satisfaction. As for Lu Zhong, who was on the side, he looked like he was going to hell, and wanted to say a few words, but the fierce aura they showed when they raised their heads made Lu Zhong swallow his words. Li Ju and Guo were subordinates of the warlord Dong Zhou in the late Eastern Han dynasty. After Dong Zhou's death, the two followed Jiasu's suggestion to kill Chang'an, defeat Lu Buletin, and kill Wang Yun. They were quite fierce, but they were also a disaster for a while. Afterwards, the two turned against each other. Guo was killed by his own generals, while Li Ju was killed by Cao's crusade. Regarding the evaluation of these two people, the history has always been not very good. During the period of controlling Chang'an, he killed the loyal and the good, and acted indiscriminately. At least the character column should be marked with a big cross, but the ability is actually not bad. It's enough for the two of them to blow up on Lu Buletin Hedan. Li Ju is also the number one general under Dong Zhou's command in history, and his ability is evident. Of course, if I really want to say it is strong, China's history is stronger than the two of them, but Lu Yan is already very satisfied. After all, this is a free gift from the system. If you don't want money, what kind of bicycle do you want? As far as the system is concerned, the strength of the two of them is in the innate fifth realm. This strength is not weak in Shengjing, but after all, he was a thorn in the eyes of many people at that time, and all of them were not in Shengjing. It was only within the scope of leaving Shengjing that these two chaotic ministers and thieves who were chaotic to the court were summoned. Lu Yan had some doubts at first. After all, he still had lingering fears about the honorable deeds of these two, but the system indicated that the Chinese heroes summoned were 100% loyal, so Lu Yan should not worry. This also made Lu Yan feel at ease and boldly summon these two. Here's an introduction to the martial arts system in this world. The first step in cultivating martial arts for mortals is to refine the body, and the 10th level of refinement is the process of smashing the body, but this is only a foundation. But even if it is basic, it is not so simple. Just like the current Lu Yan's physique that is not enough to chat, he can't even enter the body refinement realm, and Lu Zhong, his servant, has a very average talent and is 20 years old. It is only the 7th level of body training. Although it has reached the level of the soldiers of the Dacian Imperial Guard, it lacks the baptism of blood and fire on the battlefield, and its combat effectiveness is simply incomparable. This is also the reason why both of them felt that King Sheng ordered them to go to the fief to die. The martial arts of the Dacian dynasty prospered, and it was also based on martial arts. From the royal family to the common people, everyone practiced martial arts. In addition to his outstanding military achievements, his cultivation was also a very important point. After the body refinement realm is the acquired realm. Those in this realm can be regarded as the real entry into the martial arts. A master in this realm can basically take the position of a general in the army, and also an elder in a sect. After the 10th level of the acquired realm, it is the innate realm. Like the previous two levels, the innate realm is also divided into 10 levels. The master of this realm can be regarded as a real powerhouse. Sectarian. As for the post-Zionation, they are the top masters in the true sense of today's Dacian. The masters of the real Yuan realm temper the real Yuan, which is the difference between the cloud and mud from the Xiantian realm. Like Lu Yan's dead father, he was in the second realm of real Yuan before his death. The strong man, although he has no basic family background, can still be prominent for a while, and even the prime minister of the dynasty can marry. It's just that such a splendid nature also has hidden dangers. After this mountain fell, the Lu family was considered to be on the verge of collapse, which is why Lu Yan's current end. As for the realm after the real Yuan realm, Lu Yan has only heard of it, but has never seen it before. Presumably even if there are not many in the prosperous dynasty, there are some immortal monsters. Now that Liu Yan has 2 brave generals of the 5th level of congenital innate, it is safe to think that the next trip to the southern border will be safe. At this moment, in the depths of Liu Yan's sea of consciousness, there is a sphere of silver-white light, which is Liu Yan's biggest trump card right now, the system. Liu Yan didn't know the origin of the system, but he brought this system with him as soon as he came to this world. Liu Yan was also curious about it, but he always found nothing. According to the information fed back by the system can summon those strong people who have appeared in the history of the earth in the previous life. After these people are summoned, their strength will automatically match the current world setting. This is similar to a well-known game in the island country in the previous life. The setting of the hero inside is a bit similar. The summoned heroes will appear in Liu Yan's sea of knowledge in the form of cards. The cards are classified according to the strength of the summoned heroes. From low to high, the cards are divided into 5 places: red, purple, gold, red gold, and purple gold. Grade. However, the system has also stated that these levels are only some basic evaluations, and there are no actual barriers and restrictions. As for Li Ju and Guo Si, these 2 cards exude a red light, and they are regarded as the lowest rated ones, but who sent the novice gift pack at this time? All Liu Yan is not dissatisfied, except for these 2 giving it away for free. Yes, the normal summoning of Renja in the system needs to consume luck points. According to the explanation of the system, all living beings between heaven and earth have chi luck, whether chi luck is strong or weak, but they all have it, and the system can turn chi movement into specific values, which is the chi luck point. Generally speaking, the stronger the luck point, the higher the luck point. At that time, there were also some arrogant sons who were born with great luck, or the sons of noble families, like Liu Yan, the son of a marquis. The luck is greater than that of himself, and Liu Zhong, whose strength is higher than himself, is much higher. There are 2 main channels of luck points that can be used for summoning. One is to kill and plunder their luck, and the second is to conquer others to get feedback of luck. Compared with the fast and efficient of the former, the second is slower. There are quite a few and the efficiency is also very low, but Liu Yan is not an idiot. Although the former is efficient, it is only temporary, and the latter is slower but in the long run. There is no doubt that the latter path is the right path, but the former path is suitable for oneself to quickly accumulate capital, and both are the kingly path. Now Liu Yan has a total of 1530 luck points, 1400 of which are his, and the remaining 130 points that Liu Zhong has fed back to him over the years, while Li Ju and Guo Si are summoned by the system. Renja does not provide luck points, and if you want to summon Renja, you need 5000 points at a time. Of course, it is still far from the current Liu Yan. Now that I have Li Ju and Guo Si under my command, I can condense a wave of luck points before arriving in the southern border, and at the same time, I can find a way to bring out a group of my own team. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com. There are 2 methods. One is to slaughter the refugees. The strength of Li Ju and Guo Si is naturally trivial, and for these 2 honorable deeds, there will definitely be no psychological obstacles, and 80% of them will kill a lot happy. However, Liu Yan still has a psychological barrier. If he kills these innocent refugees for the sake of luck, it will not be good for Liu Yan to achieve great things in the future. However, if the refugees could not be killed, it did not mean that no one could be killed. In the past few years, the national power of the Dacian dynasty has been declining, the lord is faint, and the party has been fighting endlessly. Refugees can't be killed, and mountain bandits and robbers can't be killed? Killing mountain bandits can not only restrain people's hearts, but also many of these mountain bandits are forced to Liangshan's conscience, and they can earn income under their command to strengthen their own strength, and these mountain bandits still have wealth, and they can fill the small treasury after robbing them. Why not do more than one thing? In the following time, Liu Yan and Li Ju and Guo Si and the others started to fight against the evil while they were on their way. The effect was unexpectedly very good. Lu Yan's luck point also increased from the previous 1,530 points. At 4,728 o'clock now, it won't be long before the first summon is opened. And during this period, relying on the restrained refugees and some surrendered mountain bandits, Lu Yan's subordinates gathered nearly 500 people, and under the training of Li Ju and Guo Si, they gradually grew into real soldiers. Lu Yan was a little surprised by the training ability of Li Ju and Guo Si, but it was no problem to think about it. You must know that these two were the commanders of the Ziliang Iron Cavalry back then, and Li Ju even commanded the most elite of Dong Zhou's subordinates. The Flying Bear Army, training soldiers is naturally no problem. Speaking of which, Lu Yan is still looking forward to whether Li Ju and Guo Si can train these troops into a real Flying Bear Army. My lord, there is Blood Wolf Mountain in front. Guo Si walked in front of Lu Yan and said with his fists folded. Lu Yan nodded, but did not speak, but was thinking about something. It has been almost 3 months since they left Kinzhou. According to the normal speed, he should have arrived in the southern border, but due to the strategy of suppressing bandits, they are still in the territory of Shizhou at this time. During this period of time, Lu Yan also became more and more aware of the corruption under the Dacian rule, with bandits running rampant, victims everywhere, but the government did nothing, and the aristocratic family was unchecked. Fa wanted to overthrow this dynasty that had rotted to its roots. During this period of time, Lu Yan's subordinates also gathered some people, but they were all thrown by Lu Yan to Li Ju and Guo Si. After all, these people are just ordinary people, even those who have been bandits. The above are a gang of rabble. If you don't practice well, I'm afraid it will be difficult to become a great player. And Li Ju and Guo Si's military training is also very simple and crude, 1 word, 2 words, die training, and then go to the battlefield to fight, and those who survive are elite soldiers. It sounds quite reasonable, but Lu Yan can also hear the cruelty in it. According to Li Ju and Guo Si, the strongest elites under Dong Zhongying's command were trained in this way, and the elite flying among the elites known as the Ziliang Iron Cavalry. Xiang Jun's selection was even more cruel, which was the root cause of Li Ju and Guo Si's ability to overthrow Lu Buletin. And Lu Yan gave up this plan after thinking it over and over again. He now has 2 or 3 kittens under his command. He really can't bear this training method. It can be practiced but still has to be controlled to a certain degree. Maybe in the future, but now Lu Yan, the foundation of the open, cannot afford such consumption. What Lu Yan needs now is to quickly accumulate primitive capital, so that after arriving in the southern border, there will be no bones left. At this moment, Li Ju and more than 100 cavalry rushed over from behind. They had just destroyed a nearby cottage and came back. Lu Yan looked and saw that these refugees who were weak before, under the training of Li Ju, now have a little bit of fierceness. According to Li Ju and Guo Si, they are still far behind, but in Lu Yan's view it's a world of difference from a few months ago. At this time, the cultivation of Li Ju and Guo Si has also made a lot of progress. They are already at the 8th level of congenital cultivation. You must know that they have only been summoned for 3 months, and most of them are still in to train for Lu Yan. Normally it would take more than half a year for a Xiantian martial artist to break through the 1st level, and he still couldn't encounter a bottleneck, but now these 2 are in the 1st level realm every month. I'm afraid no one will believe it. Only then did Lu Yan realize that these outstanding talents who were summoned by him were not only powerful, but also terrifyingly talented. During this time, Lu Yan was also cultivating himself, and he was practicing a practice that was given by the system, called Reverse Dragon. Xianjing. Reverse Dragon Mysterious Classic is quite amazing. After Lu Yan started to cultivate, he began to repair the foundation that Lu Yan lacked. Now Lu Yan's cultivation has reached the 7th level of body refining, which is almost the same as Lu Zhong at the beginning. Lu Zhong is now following the practice of Li Ju and Guo Si. There was also a lot of progress. At this time, the strength of the 9th level of body refinement was already achieved. Li Ju also brought back a lot of property and money this time. At the same time, Lu Yan also felt the increase in the Qi luck points in his sea of knowledge. According to the system, whether it was the Qi obtained by Lu Yan himself or his subordinates, the luck points will be counted on Lu Yan's head. He is very happy with Lu Yan. If he really kills them one by one, wouldn't he have to die of exhaustion? The luck point at this time, 4,936 points. It was not far from the first call. Lu Yan set his sights on the mountain not far away, Blood Wolf Mountain. Blood Wolf Mountain is the largest group of bandits in this area. It is said that it was established by a group of deserters. Its strength is far superior to those of the surrounding cottages. Holding a lion to fight a rabbit, it also uses all its strength. Although Lu Yan believes in Guo Si's strength, but after waiting for Li Ju's men to converge, he started. At this time, there was also a chill on the Blood Wolf Mountain. Wang Kui, the leader of the Blood Wolf Mountain, looked at the big and small minions under his command with a gloomy expression. During this period of time, the actions of Lu Yan and others are not low-key. As the leader of this gang, Blood Wolf Mountain naturally noticed the actions of Lu Yan and his gang, but although he noticed it, Wang Kui held his own Blood Wolf. The strength of the mountain is strong enough, and I wanted to observe first, but I really didn't expect Lu Yan's gang to move so fast and with such high efficiency. After eliminating 7, 8, he went to the bottom of the mountain. That's right, they had already seen that Lu Yan's group had arrived at the foot of Blood Wolf Mountain, but when they saw Gui, Wang Kui also saw that this was a gang of ruthless people. At this moment, Wang Kui also some frightened. Although their brothers are from the army, they are deserters in the end, and after so many years, they are basically no different from bandits, and the means of exterminating other cottages from Li Ju and Guo Si, although they are more like bandits than them. But still can see the shadow of the army, and it is not a half-as like them, but a real fierce evil spirit that belongs to the elite. Fight? He really has no bottom. What are we going to do? With a gloomy look on his face, Wang Kui looked at Lin Saiwen, the only one who had read books on the mountain beside him. At this time, the think tank of the Blood Wolf Mountain was also a little bitter. He was a scholar who went to Beijing to take the exam. He was robbed by the mountain bandits halfway up the mountain. Later, Wang Kui took a group of brothers to seize the Blood Wolf Mountain. Lin Saiwen naturally also fell into Wang Kui's hands. Fortunately, Wang Kui was not a bandit. Although he was a deserter, he was already a bandit at this time, but his murderousness was not serious. After Wang Kui learned that Lin Saiwen had read books, he was very good to Lin Saiwen. After Lin Saiwen helped him with some ideas, he promoted Lin Saiwen to the second leader. Lin Saiwen had already recognized him at that time. Moreover, there were no other relatives in the family, and Wang Kui treated him well, so he agreed. After that, the Blood Wolf Mountain was indeed growing stronger with the help of Lin Saiwen, and Wang Kui listened to Lin Saiwen's advice and seldom bullied the commoners, so in the eyes of the nearby people, the reputation of the Blood Wolf Mountain was not bad. And Lin Saiwen's good days haven't passed a few years. Here comes Lu Yan and Li Ju and Guo Si, the two killer stars, making it clear that they want to destroy the Blood Wolf Mountain. You reading www.youcanshu.com. And from Lin Saiwen's observation during this period of time, Lu Yan's group is definitely stronger than his own. I was thinking about negotiating before, but I didn't know that Lu Yan's actions were so fast. Now they have reached the foot of the mountain. Li Ju and Guo Si's style of going up the mountain is to kill. There is no chance for negotiation at all. So Lin Saiwen is also having a headache now. Shall we surrender? Lin Saiwen scratched his head, and there was no better way at this time, so he tentatively gave his suggestion. However, Wang Kui didn't jump like Lin Saiwen expected at the moment. Instead, his brows were furrowed as if he was really thinking. It was only then that Lin Saiwen realized that the leader of his own family was a deserter, and they were not hard bones to put it mildly. Moreover, under the constraints of his advice over the years, the brothers on Blood Wolf Mountain did not cultivate other bandits. The same arrogant and violent character. Really, to surrender? Now it's Lin Saiwen's turn to think. He just said that surrender was just a matter of urgency, but it's not that simple to surrender. Surrender first depends on the character and style of the person you surrender. Sex is heavy, isn't this a gift? Just when Lin Saiwen was still thinking, the scoundrel who was watching Lu Yan and the others on the mountain hurried in. Big boss, it's not good, they're going up the mountain. As soon as the voice fell, a panic filled the hall, not even Lin Saiwen and Wang Kui were surprised. Come so fast? Finally, Wang Kui slapped his big hand on the table and shouted loudly, "Okay." At this moment, Wang Kui's face was still full of panic, replaced by firmness. Apparently he has made a decision. We surrender. On the Swalang Mountain, Lu Yan was a little distressed when he looked at the Blood Wolf Mountain gang who were kneeling in front of him. Lu Yan had thought about a lot of possible situations before, but she never expected this scene. Brother, we haven't started yet, why are you all kneeling? Are you a little stubborn? So what should I do if I kneel down like this? The time turned back a little bit. At Blood Wolf Mountain half an hour ago, Wang Kui had already made a decision to surrender. Although some of the brothers on the mountain were dissatisfied, Wang Kui's prestige was still there. After some hesitation, he agreed to the decision to surrender. Everyone walked out of the cottage hall and knelt in front of the gate together, ready to wait for Lu Yan, Li Ju, Guo Si and the others to arrive, so they expressed their surrender. But at this time, Li Ju and Guo Si, who were leading the way, didn't know this. They were both from the Ziliang army. Dong Zhou's subordinates were actually more like bandits than Wang Kui, and they were military bandits. Robbing the common people, Li and Guo robbed the emperor's royal family. The conflict between the two will also be serious in the later stage. Although the two are now reborn under Lu Yan's command, it is considered that the previous suspicion has been resolved, but there is still a thorn in their hearts. Fortunately, the two have simple and rude temperaments. The thorn is revealed in the occasional grudge. And this time, the two of them had the intention to compete with the soldiers behind and put their horses in the front, and Lu Yan was not surprised by this. Lu Yan said that he could still shout. So when Wang Kui and everyone knelt down and prepared to surrender, the two of them had already rushed to the front of the mountain gate. Lin Saiwen, who was on the side, saw the murderous appearance of Li Ju and Guo Si, and then looked at the side that had not been hung up. Bai Qi secretly screamed badly in his heart. The speed of Li Ju and Guo Si is beyond Wang Kui and Saiwen's expectations. They just put down their weapons, and they kill Shan, and they have not spoken yet. Looking at the appearance of the two evil stars, they obviously do not. I will wait for myself and others to say this, and if I cut it down with a knife, I will see blood. Li Ju and Guo Si and the others saw Wang Kui and others kneeling down and putting down their weapons. The first thing that came to their mind was a special killing. The imposing manner of the eighth layer of the congenital was completely released. Wolf Mountain helped everyone fall to the ground. At this moment, Wang Kui couldn't care about any more foreshadowing, and shouted directly, "You two stop, we surrender." Guo Si was already full of energy at this time, and when he heard it, he thought he didn't hear it, but Li Ju was still a little brainy. Lu Yan had explained it before, and those who surrendered would not be killed. Immediately, the blade in Li Ju's hand turned, and at the same time, he clamped it hard, and took a sharp step forward. The blade swept across and directly blocked Guo Si's blade. At this time, Guo Si was already in front of Wang Kui, and when Li Ju made such a block, when the two blades touched, the shock wave directly sent Wang Kui a few meters away, and Lin Saiwen was not far from Wang Kui. It was even more unbearable, and he rolled directly on the ground for a few laps, very embarrassed. But at this time, the hearts of Wang Kui and Lin Saiwen both fell. The knife that Li Ju blocked showed that their lives were saved, and Wang Kui felt a little more fortunate. Fortunately, he decided to surrender decisively, otherwise he would the momentum that Li Ju and Guo Si have just burst out. I am afraid that these two people will be able to slaughter the entire cottage. Wang Kui is also in the innate realm, but it is only the first level, but because of this, he can better appreciate the power of Li Ju and Guo Si. Although Li Ju and Guo Si have definitely not reached the true Yuan realm, the aura that erupted is even him. The masters at the peak of the 10th level of the congenital innate that he has seen are not as good, and the kind of fierce aura that is revealed in his bones is only available to the real warriors who are in the sea of blood. Guo Si had regained his sanity at this time, and realized that he almost got into trouble just now, but he may still hold some dissatisfaction with his previous life, and he did not give a good face, and Li Ju was not surprised. He still knows the temperament of the old comrade in arms. Both Wang Kui and Lin Siwen have already knelt back to their positions, while Li Ju, Guo Si and Guo Si are expressionless. It is up to Lu Yan to decide whether to kill or not. At this time, they will not have any redundant action. Afterwards, Lu Yan, Lu Zhong and the soldiers who were behind finally arrived, and the beginning scene appeared. After listening to Wang Kui and Lin Siwen's surrender speeches, Lu Yan wanted to scratch his head. After all, he is also a bandit king in this place. Do you want to be so cowardly? Why don't you dare to have a fight with someone, Lu? With such a good attitude, Lu Yan also inquired about the fact that Swallangshan did not do anything wrong, and even occasionally did some good deeds to fight corrupt officials and some brutal colleagues. Apart from the reputation of Swallangshan, how could there be any bandit cottages? Like? What about your blood? What about your wolf nature? There is no excuse for labor and capital to kill you. Although Li Ju and Guo Si would definitely kill Wang Kui and others without hesitation as long as he gave an order, Lu Yan also has a conscience when he asks himself. Give up. Afterwards, Wang Kui, Lin Siwen, and others were considered to be incorporated into Lu Yan's command. Blood Wolf Mountain was the strongest cottage in Feng Yuan. This time all members surrendered, and Lu Yan's subordinate's strength was also worried about a leap. In this group of people who surrendered, there were more than 30 people in the refining realm, 3 in the Hushan realm, 1 Wang Kui in the Xiantian realm, and more than 300 young men. These are all potentials, and the addition of such a new force will undoubtedly help Lu Yan's trip to the southern border a lot. In the next time, Lu Yan naturally continued to bring his group of horses who had already taken shape. Reading www.yuyuganshu.com continues his great cause of bandit suppression. Just when Lu Yan's side was in full swing, the southern border was Mingzhou, and Lu Yan's next destination was also changing at this moment, and the dark tide was surging. Although Nanjiang has always been a distant place for the emperor, it is not without influence in the face of today's turbulent imperial situation. The battle between the prince and the sixth prince has been going on for a long time, and there are naturally a lot of backhands buried by the parties. Now the sixth prince will kill the prince and become the king. Naturally, the previous sixth prince faction also began to cleanse the princelings. Even in a back country like southern Xinjiang, where birds don't poop, there is no shortage of two people's layouts. Southern Xinjiang, Mingzhou, officially has 12 heavy cities, and there are naturally 12 city lords. They are all the heritage left by the dead ancestors to the prince, and they are naturally the princelings, but the land in the southern Xinjiang is vast. The forces of all parties are even more complicated and chaotic, and some of them are enough to compete with the existence of the 12 city lords, and among them are the 4 major indigenous families and the 2 barbarian tribes, and these are the forces that the sixth prince cultivated and united in the past. Now that the crown prince is dead, the throne has changed hands. The 6 princes of the past, and the current king of Xinchen will naturally not let these guys who were enemies with him in the past. There is a great desire to replace it. The Daliang dynasty, which borders Dashan, is naturally a glimpse into the fire. At this time, the chaos within Dashan is a gauge of an opportunity in the eyes of Daliang's monarchs and ministers. If he seizes the opportunity, he might be able to destroy Dashan in one fell swoop. It may not be impossible to make a further leap to be promoted to the dynasty. Thanks for watching, please subscribe. After leaving the Blood Wolf Mountain, Liu Yan's subordinates became even more powerful, and at the same time they continued to move southward according to the policy set at the beginning. And when Wang Kui and Lin Saiwen learned that Liu Yan's target was in the southern border, they felt a little regretful and felt they were on a pirate ship, but after seeing the guilt of Li Ju and Guo Si, they still followed their hearts. Liu Yan's luck point soon reached 5,000 points, and he was ready for his first summon. However, Liu Yan was not in a hurry to start. He was going to find an auspicious day and start his first summon after bathing in Zai. Don't blame Liu Yan for being superstitious, transmigration and rebirth is evil enough, and with such an unscientific system, no matter how profound and solid the atheism education in the previous life was, Liu Yan would inevitably still be a little concerned. Of course, there is another point that Liu Yan is not in a hurry now. At present, Li Ju and Guo Si's combat power is enough for Liu Yan, and Liu Yan is not in a hurry to use the luck points to summon. Soon Liu Yan and others had arrived at the junction of Shizhou and Nanjiang, Mingzhou, but it was already dark, so Liu Yan decided to set up camp on the spot, rest for one night and move on tomorrow. At this time, Liu Yan's subordinates already had 1,000 men and horses. Among them, the 200DD cavalry led by Li Ju was considered the most elite combat force under Liu Yan's subordinates. Although they were not good horses, they were already available these days. It's amazing. Li Ju and Guo Si beat a deer today. Naturally, this is also to be honored to Liu Yan. Liu Yan will not say that he eats meat and others drink soup. In addition to Li Ju and Guo Si, he also treats Liu Zhong, Wang Kui and Lin Saiwen. He also called over, these 5 people are all the high-level executives under Liu Yan. Xiaolu didn't take care of it very soon. There was a debate about how to eat it. In the end, Liu Yan tried to use the roasted food. When everyone heard the boss's words, they naturally didn't say anything. The proposal of roasting the whole deer was first proposed by Li Ju. According to Guo Si, Li Ju's roasting skills are indeed very good. It is said that this was the first time Li Ju showed his face under Dong Zhou's command. After building a fire and setting up a rack, Li Ju used a clean long sword to pass through the deer and put it on the grill. The roasting of the whole deer was officially started. I have to say that Li Ju's barbecue is indeed very good. Whether it is the treatment before roasting or the control of the heat during roasting, he is quite skilled. Looking at the oily barbecue and the smell of coke mixed with it, even if he had eaten all kinds of delicacies from mountains and seas in his previous life, Liu Yan still didn't have much resistance to this original delicacy. And while everyone was waiting for the deliciousness to ripen, a dark shadow passed by outside the camp. With a smile on his face, Li Ju used a dagger to cut down the fattest piece of leg meat and handed it to Liu Yan's hand. The moment Liu Yan just took it, a dark shadow suddenly flew past, targeting Liu Yan. Li Ju and Guo Si have the highest cultivation base, and they were the first to react. They were shocked and angry, and they immediately reached out to capture the soul who dared to assassinate the Lord. However, the speed of this shadow was extremely fast. Rao was Li Ju and Guo Si, but he was able to dodge it with all his might. The shadow disappeared, and the two quickly turned their attention to Liu Yan, but fortunately, Liu Yan didn't seem to be hurt, so both of them breathed a sigh of relief. At this time, Liu Yan seemed to be a little stunned, looking at the empty plate in his hand, his expression was a little stiff. Damn, this is meat for robbing labor and capital. How can you bear it? Follow me. Then bring this thief back to me. Liu Yan shouted with a grim face, while Li Ju and Guo Si were also annoyed by the dereliction of duty just now, and Liu Yan chased after him as soon as he finished speaking. The two of them are both at the innate 10th level. Although the shadow just now escaped from the hands of Li Ju and Guo Si, although the shadow was agile, it was mainly because Li Ju and Guo Si were caught off guard. Now they are facing Li Ju and Guo Si. The two pursued with all their strength and were quickly caught up. "Give it up, you can't escape," Li Ju said in a low voice, but the pace under his feet was a few steps faster, and Guo Si on the side had already rushed to the front of the shadow. Only then did the two realize that the meat thief was actually a woman, a young girl disguised as a man. Li Ju and Guo Si have done a lot of beasts in the past, and he still has some experience in asking women. This person is petite, fair-skinned, handsome in facial features, and has a pair of Kazilan big eyes, which is very bright. If these two can't see, it's time to get a guide dog when you get out. "And Wazi, you are so courageous, do you know whose meat you robbed?" Maybe it was because of a woman that Li Ju kicked someone on the ground before he came up. Instead, he asked a question first, although his tone was not polite at all, and his murderous aura didn't hide the slightest bit. "Kicks, as for Guo Si, he is even more eager to sharpen his knives." The vicious two obviously brought a lot of psychological shadow to the girl, and the delicate face was a little more timid and pale. "Where's the meat? Where's my meat?" At this moment, Lu Yan and others also rushed over. Lu Yan looked at the figure blocked by Li Ju and Guo Si, and shouted from a distance. It was only when Lu Yan approached that he found out that the meat thief who was killed this day was actually a girl. Unlike Li Ju and Guo Si, who killed embryos, Lu Yan was essentially a normal person, even a little innocent, except in his previous life. There is no other love other than the first love. "Where's my meat?" Lu Yan's eyes were gloomy, trying to make herself look aggressive. Speaking of Lu Yan's acting skills, there is still a little bit of aggression in this picture. I'm afraid to compare goods when it comes to big things. Compared with Li Ju and Guo Si, Lu Yan's aggression is obvious. Much more amiable. The girl looked at Lu Yan innocently, and at the same time timidly pointed her finger at her stomach, and when Lu Yan looked at the corners of her lips that were still covered in greasy, she knew it well. Forget it. Lu Yan thought so, it was just a piece of meat anyway. At this moment Lu Zhong suddenly rushed over and said to Lu Yan breathlessly, "Master, you reading www.yuyuganshu.com is not good, our venison was stolen by others." "Robbed?" Lu Yan patted Lu Zhong's head and said, "Hey, Lu Zhong, your reaction is a little slow. The meat thief has already been caught, but it's just a piece of meat. Let's go back and continue to check the meat." At this moment, Lu Zhong calmed down a bit and said, "No, young master, the whole remaining deer was snatched away. It was a fat man who did it." Lu Yan was stunned for a moment, then burst into anger, then turned back to look at the girl who was still pretending to be innocent at the moment. Her eyes were really aggressive this time. "Tell me, what does that fat man who grabbed meat have to do with you?" Lu Yan's voice was very cold. After all, he didn't even eat lunch for this roasted whole deer, and now he didn't even have a bite, but it's gone. Is it still good? Can this be tolerated? He is my master. The girl seemed to want to be tougher, but then out of the corner of the eye caught the hideous expressions of Li Ju and Guo Si, and decided to betray her master. Only at this moment did Lu Yan restrain some of the coldness in his eyes. "It's good to know that you are cowardly. Can you find your master?" Lu Yan asked lightly. This time, the girl shook her head rather stubbornly. The corner of Lu Yan's mouth raised slightly, revealing a sneer. Not saying anything to the girl, she turned her head to Li Ju and Guo Si and said, "Kill her to death." Li Ju and Guo Si had been waiting for Lu Yan's words for a long time, and as soon as Lu Yan finished speaking, the two of them took a step closer to the girl at the same time. The girl suddenly felt a chill on her back, and she felt that they would really kill her. "Master, help! Someone wants to kill your precious apprentice me. You are this girl's master." In the camp, Lu Yan sat on a chair and threw the cleaned deer bones into the fire, touched the greasy corners of his mouth, glanced with drooping eyes, his nose was blue and his face was swollen on the ground, and he was pitiful for the fat middle-aged man. Asked slightly playfully. LV Chun-shan has been very sad recently, the world is in chaos, the sect is disbanded, the sect master has run away with this property and his sister-in-law, he has nothing to say and he has to take this pitiful second-hand apprentice. An officer was roasting meat, and asked his apprentice and himself to cooperate with him to get rid of the tiger, but he was arrested, and he was caught for a while. Lu Chun-shan raised his eyes and looked at Lu Yan in front of him, grinning in a pleasing smile. Once upon a time, he was also an elder of the faction, and hundreds of disciples in the sect had to respect him when they saw him. What kind of life is this? He took another look at the apprentice who was pretending to be innocent, and sighed deeply. The teacher is unfortunate. Lu Yan was actually not very angry at this time. He didn't want to kill for a deer. Wouldn't that be a waste of life? Of course, this doesn't mean that Lu Yan just let the two of them go so lightly. He doesn't claim to be a good person. Since he dares to steal the meat from his mouth, don't blame him for Liu's biting. General, do you see how I should compensate you so that you are satisfied? Here, LV Chun-shan regards Lu Yan as a member of the army. After all, Li Ju and Guo Si are all wearing armor, and Lu Yan does not want to be a bandit. As for the soldiers under his command, he is not surprised. He had never seen many armored armies in such a bad place. They were basically cloth armor, and they were of various colors. The common people jokingly called the soldiers in the southern border all beggar soldiers. Satisfy. Lu Yan raised his brows, his eyes drifted to the girl beside him, and Lu Chun-shan naturally saw the change in Lu Yan's eyes, only to see Lu Chun-shan abruptly stood up and said, I can let this apprentice of mine be your wife. The appearance of Lu Chun-shan's righteous words shocked Lu Yan and even everyone present. Don't follow a routine. At the same time, the side was dumbfounded and looked at the possibly fake master in front of her. Yet, Chun-shan thief, are you still my master? At this moment, the girl rushed towards Lu Chun-shan with her fangs and claws, but Lu Chun-shan's seemingly plump figure was unusually agile. Afterwards, the girl was even more angry, and the two started fighting in front of Lu Yan and the others. Lu Yan propped his forehead, the two strange creatures in front of him made him wonder whether to laugh or cry. It is really interesting to be such a master and apprentice. Finally, at Lu Yan's suggestion, Li Ju and Guo Si interrupted the farce. The people were beaten and the deer was taken back. Lu Yan didn't plan to do anything to the two of them, so he just stopped the farce. Let Lin Siwen get out of here. Before leaving, Lu Yan also got some news about southern Xinjiang and the past of the two from Lufchun mountain pass. Lu Chun-shan used to be the elder of a small sect in the southern border, and the girl was his apprentice Lu Sisi. During this period of turmoil in the southern border, the sect was disbanded, and the two were planning to flee north. Lu Yan focused on the two of them to learn about the current behavior of Nanjiang. From Lu Chun-shan's description, the current southern border is already smoky and chaotic. Before the sixth prince seized the throne, the southern border was dominated by two major forces, the princelings of the 12 city lords, the 4 major families and the 2 major tribes already supported by the sixth prince. And now that the prince died and the sixth prince came to power, the situation has naturally undergone earth-shaking changes. The first is the counterattack of the 4 major families and the 2 major tribes, and 2 of the 12 city lords also fell directly to the sixth prince and counterattacked the rest. 10 Mayor. At this time, the Daliang dynasty also seized the opportunity to mobilize a large army on the border, and it is very likely to take the opportunity to invade the southern border. In this situation, Lu Yan faced both difficulties and opportunities. Lu Yan found out that the city lord of Qiang City, his fief, was one of the 10 city lords loyal to the old prince, and he was being attacked by the famous family of the 4 major families. Hearing this news, Lu Yan began to prepare his next plan. He needed stronger strength, and he was about to prepare for the first summon. The next day, Lu Yan took Li Ju and Guo Si and the two to speed up their march, aiming directly at Qiang City. At the same time, Wang Kuo and Sai Wen began to collect intelligence. At this time, Qiang City, above the city tower. The city lord Dai Sun looked at the army of famous families like dark clouds under the city, his face was gloomy and uncertain. The 40,000 strong elite army was led by Yu Ming, the leader of the 5 tigers of the Yu family. Dai Sun knew that he was completely defeated this time, and he had no chance to resist. The 6th prince's manual movements were so fast that Dai Sun didn't even have a chance to sell at the price, so he was beaten into a solid princeling by the famous family who had grudges against him. At this moment, he has no help, and when the supplies in the city are exhausted, no, maybe he won't have to wait until then, and he will have no life. City Lord, let's. The lieutenant on the side just ran to report something when he saw a black feather arrow flashing with silver light pierced the lieutenant's chest. In the next instant, the real essence attached to the feather arrow blew the lieutenant's upper body into pieces. The blood splattered Dai Sun's face, but at this time Dai Sun's heart sank to the bottom. True Yuan realm. The next day, Qiang City was destroyed, the city owner Dai Sunshan died, and the famous family set fire to the city. By the time Lu Yan and the others arrived in Qiang, it was already in ruins, and innocent people who were homeless were wailing in front of the fire. Lu Yan looked at the tragedies in front of him with a cold expression, and his heart was full of mixed feelings. As Lu Yan, he doesn't know these people in front of him, but as Kai Yangbo, these people he has never met are his subjects. Although he doesn't identify with this country, Lu Yan can feel these despair and grief in people's hearts. Fame. I remember. Lu Yan told himself this, and then Lu Yan began to ask his subordinates to restrain the victims and put out fires and disasters. The victims who survived soon were gathered together in an open space, and Lin Saiwen reported the number to Lu Yan. 3,462 people, this is the number of survivors. You must know that this is a major city. Although it is in a poor place like southern border, the population should not be less than 50,000 people. Now there are only 3,000 people left in the entire city. Knowing that the Yu family massacred the city at this time. Thinking of this, Lu Yan's heart naturally became more gloomy. And the people who were gathered together at this moment are all vigilantly looking at this young boy dressed as a young noble family in front of them. They have just experienced a massacre, and their fear has been buried deep in their hearts. Lu Yan looked at the pair of frightened and vigilant eyes in front of him, and couldn't help sighing. Everyone, my name is Lu Yan, Uncle Qiang. From a certain point of view, you are all my subjects. Lu Yan briefly introduced his identity, and then said, I know what you have just experienced. Tragedy, I'm late, and I'm sorry, but please believe me, I will avenge you. Lu Yan doesn't speak much, he is not good at speaking, and he has no intention of using words to appease these mourning souls. Just as he said, he will settle them well and avenge them. At this time, what they really need is the rest. Anything more is hypocrisy. After Lu Yan took control of Qiang City, he began to appease the people and rebuild the city. The food obtained from the bandit suppression in Shizhu was quickly used up. However, on the contrary, Lu Yan was also recognized by the people of Qiang, and Lu Yan started his first official summon. The place where Lu Yan lived was originally a rich man's house. Later, when the war broke out, his family fled. Although the Yu family slaughtered and set fire to the city when they entered the city, after all, Qiang City was so big that there were still some leaks of fish. Due to the previous war, most of Qiang's city walls have been damaged, which is one of the reasons why the Yu family only Dujin did not occupy it. Lu Yan had just taken a shower at this time, and when he returned to his bedroom, he started his first summoning. Lu Yan's consciousness gradually immersed in his own sea of consciousness. Within the sea of consciousness, within a group of rays of light, Lu Yan's consciousness was here at this moment. Let's start the summon. Lu Yan said. Then a cold voice replied, Okay host, this summon will cost the host 5,000 luck points, and the summoning will begin. As soon as the words fell, Lu Yan saw that the value of his luck point shrunk rapidly, leaving only about 1,000 or so, and the next scene made Lu Yan also full of expectations. A red golden light wrapped around a card and landed in Lu Yan's hand. Lu Yan was overjoyed. The system has a basic evaluation for the outstanding talents summoned by people, that is, the evaluation of the 5 colors of red, purple, gold, red gold, and purple gold. Although there is no obvious definition, the evaluation of red gold is this: a hero is definitely not weak, at least far stronger than Li Ju and Guo Si. At this time, the red gold brilliance that covered the information on the card also gradually faded, and only a handsome and resolute figure appeared on the card, with red armor and a handsome face. Although he hadn't seen the name yet, Lu Yan knew that this was a teenage hero. Name: Yang Xi, Courtesy Name Yanxi Physique, King Yan Jade Body Auxiliary Technique, Da Ri Yan Tian Spear Technique Cultivation, True Yuan Realm 4th Layer System Review, Chaijin Introduction. Yang Xi, Courtesy Name Yanxi, the son of the Yang family in the northern Song dynasty, the 7th son of Yang Yat, also known as Yang Qilang. Not only did he not save his son's revenge, but he tied him up, and the arrows pierced his heart to death. Of course, he knows about this Yang Qilang and Lu Yan, but this is a fictional character in romance. Obviously, the system does not only take real characters. This also gives Lu Yan a general understanding of the calling scope of the system. As one of the 7 sons of the Yang family, Yang Yunxi is better than his 6 brothers in martial arts. However, he is simple-minded and impulsive and aggressive. This is the reason for his tragic end. Lu Yan can get such a fierce general for his first call. I am also very happy. Yang Yunxi's cultivation level has reached the 4th level of True Yuan, and it is no surprise that he has become the #1 expert under Lu Yan's account. Even Lu Yan's dead cheap dad, his cultivation level is not as good as him. It is undoubtedly a help in the snow. Lu Yan left the system space consciousness and returned to reality. With a thought in his heart, he saw a red gold metal card appearing in Lu Yan's hand. The portrait of Yang Yunxi on it was also lifelike. Even the portrait Lu Yan could feel this, the heroic heroism of the young hero. Lu Yan squeezed his palm slightly, and the metal card suddenly began to emit a red gold light. When the light faded, the card also disappeared. At the same time, a figure appeared out of thin air in front of Lu Yan. It was Yang Yunxi, the 7th son of the Yang family in red armor. Next, Lu Yan took Yang Yunxi to get acquainted with his subordinates. Li Ju and Guo Si didn't have much reaction to Yang Yunxi's appearance. They all knew the existence of the system. Even if Dong Zhou appeared in front of them in the future, they would not be surprised. Wang Kuolin, Sai Wen and others were still very curious about this young man in red armor who suddenly appeared, and then inquired about Li Ju and Guo Si, but were dismissed by the 2 of them. Master, don't be curious. Whoever has the bigger fist has the last word at all times. The strength of Wang Kui and Lin Saiwen is destined that they cannot get anything from Li Ju and Guo Si. Soon Yang Yunxi also showed his great strength, and no one asked about it. Anyway, the bosses who were working part-time jobs believed him. While Lu Yan was focusing on development here, the entire Dashan was already in a precarious moment. Far away in the majestic Golden Temple in Shengjing City, the 6th prince of the past, the current prince of great prosperity, but Chu Yi did not have the pride and joy of the victor at all. Resentment and gloom appeared on a pale and somewhat morbid face, a pair of eyes were no longer the same as they used to be, but were covered with hideous bloodshots. This palace change was not as smooth as the outside world thought. Chu Yi slowly lifted the bright yellow royal robe, revealing his chest, and on the position of Chu Yi's chest was a ferocious and terrifying wound, a huge wound. The cross scars spread from the neck to the abdomen, from the left shoulder to the right side of the ribs, and at the intersection of the 2 scars, where the heart is, there is no flesh at all, and there is still a thin layer of blood under the scab. Feel the faint throbbing of the heart. You don't have to think too much, just take good care of your wounds. Liu Zhe is my first genius doctor in Dashan. Since he promises to heal you, you should believe it. Beside Chu Yi, a burly figure sighed softly and said, I didn't think much about it, I just wasn't reconciled. I just got this supreme position, how can I just fall down like this? Chu Yi turned his head to look at the person beside him, tears fell from the corners of his eyes, and his voice was slightly hoarse. You won't die, I promised your mother. The burly man frowned and said, but looking at the wound on Chu Yi's chest, he didn't have a clue in his heart. The injuries were so bad that they underestimated the prince's background, so that Chu Yi paid such a painful price for the prince's counterattack before his death. However, it was already too late at this point. Fortunately, Liu Zhe lived up to his reputation as a genius doctor, and the Sui family was indeed strong. After Chu Yi was seriously injured, the situation in the court was stabilized. By the way, where's the son of Marquis Qiang? Chu Yi suddenly raised his head and asked. After receiving the decree, I sold my belongings and left Shengjing with a personal servant. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com went to the fief. The burly figure replied immediately, but there seemed to be a little doubt in his tone, and he didn't quite understand Chu. Why did Yi mention such an insignificant little person? Is there any whereabouts of him later? Chu Yi did not intend to answer the burly man's doubts, but continued to ask. The burly man shook his head and said, at that time, we were preparing for the palace change, and we didn't have the energy to pay attention to him. These days, we were busy stabilizing the court situation, and we didn't have time to pay attention. Chu Yi nodded slightly, he knew that the burly man was telling the truth, and then said, it's okay to let someone check his tracks now, kill him if he catches it, and let the southern border of the southern border pay attention, and deal with it if it appears. Although he is only a small person, but don't leave any trouble, and give the Sui family an attitude by the way. Didn't Sui Qi always want to marry his daughter to me? Now I can't marry her in this situation, but I can promise her to me. Cheer, be the crown princess. The burly man nodded. Chu Qi was the eldest son of Chu Yi and the prince of the dynasty. He is also 16 years old this year. It is said that Sui Kai's daughter is only 18 years old this year, and it is not impossible that she is only 2 years older. Still the crown princess, who will be the queen in the future, is no worse than entering the palace as a noble concubine now. Presumably this Prime Minister Sui will also be very happy. Of course, Liu Yan didn't know that he had been targeted by the new one, and he didn't even know how he was actually kicked out of Shengjing. For Liu Yan, the party's top priority was to build people's livelihood. Money and grain fight the population. Only when there is money and grain can the war go on, and when there is a population, people can fight the war. Now what Liu Yan wants most is to have Xiao He and Zhuge to help him improve people's livelihood. If he expects Li Ju and Guo Si to kill embryos and Yang Yanxi to fight like crazy, then he should wash and sleep. Uncle Qiang Liu Yan. Yushan City, a city built by the Yu family, one of the 4 major families in southern Xinjiang, has no city owner here, only the owner of the Yu family. At this moment, in front of the desk table in the study room in the Yu family's patriarch's court, Yu Jian, the contemporary patriarch of Yu's family, was holding a secret letter from Shengjing in his hand, showing doubts on his face. Have you heard of this person? It seemed that he had no impression of Liu Yan, and turned to look at the housekeeper beside him. Yuqian's housekeeper, Yufu, is Yuqian's confidant, and is also Yuqian's effective subordinate. Yufu has a sallow complexion, long beards, and has the roughness of a southern border man on his facial features, while a pair of concave triangular eyes reveals that the stalk is dark and deep. I actually heard that after young Master Ming broke Qiang City, a person took over Qiang, and that person's name seems to be Liu Yan. Yufu said calmly, with any look on his face. Yu Jian pondered for a moment and asked, "What is this Lu Yan here in Qiang? Reduce the refugees and rebuild Qiang." Hearing this, Yu Jian's cold eyes narrowed slightly and said, "It doesn't seem very honest." Yafu asked, "Master, are you ready? Let Yuming lead the troops to level." Yafu paused for a while, then replied, "I'm afraid it won't work. Young Master Ming is leading troops and the Feng family to join forces to deal with Du Xiaofeng." Yuqian frowned slightly, raised his head and asked, "Are there any other people near Qiang?" Yafu shook his head, and Yuqian frowned a little when he saw this. "Then let Yuming send some side troops, and explain to the Feng family that it's His Majesty's intention. If you want to come here." Lu Yan was kicked out of Shengjing with nothing. "I'm afraid he doesn't have much power in his hands." "Already?" Yafu nodded, then left the study, while Yuqian threw the secret letter aside. He didn't care about such trivial matters. At this time, in Qiang City, it was another scene. The reconstruction plan of Qiang City has been put on the agenda by Lu Yan. During this time, Lu Yan began to reign in some refugees. Now there are wars all over the southern Xinjiang, and there are many homeless and displaced people. This short period of time, Lu Yan's subordinates numbered more than 10,000 refugees. And Li Ju, Guo Si, and others also selected many men with decent qualifications to join the army. At this time, Lu Yan already had more than 3,000 soldiers. Now, although the population and troops have been replenished, food has become a problem. Lu Yan's hand for the refugees is to feed them. At this time, the simplest and most direct way, but in fact, Lu Yan brought it from Shizu to suppress the bandits. The food is almost bottomed out at this time. Lu Yan needs to get a batch of food and grass as soon as possible, but given the current situation in southern Xinjiang, not to mention that he is unfamiliar with Lu Yan's life, the relationship will definitely not be found. As for robbing, if he has strong soldiers and strong horses, and Li Guosi already had Yang Yunxi's bravery, but the key point was that Lu Yan's men were weak in soldiers and weak in horses. Although there were strong generals, there were no elite soldiers. In desperation, Lu Yan naturally put his attention on the system. Since he can't get along now, let's hang up. At this time, Lu Yan had accumulated more than 5,000 luck points again, but Lu Yan did not summon it immediately, because he knew that there were many outstanding people who were summoned now, and it was of little significance. After all, he had no food or grass in his hands. People can't support it, it's better to see if the system can do anything. The system is worthy of being a system. At Lu Yan's request, he still gave a solution. He exchanged fortune points for grain and grass, and the conversion ratio also made Lu Yan very happy. A little luck point can be exchanged for 10 stones of rice. Lu Yan exchanged more than 5,000 stone of rice. At this time, Lu Yan still had 5,000 luck points on his system. Originally, Lu Yan wanted to exchange all the luck points for food, but now that the exchange rate is so affordable, Lu Yan then still wanted to keep the luck points to summon new heroes. After this period of time, Li Ju and Guo Si have broken through to the first realm of the real Yuan, while Yang Yunxi has broken through to the sixth realm of the real Yuan, and Lu Yan himself has also broken through the Hushan realm with the help of Inverse Dragon Mysterious Classic. Now it is the 10th level of the acquired day, and it is only a little bit to break through to the innate realm. Compared with the rapid increase in the strength of Huaxi Arenja, the growth of Lu Yan's forces has been a hindrance. Lu Yan hopes that this time he will be summoned by a wise man of counselor type. Currently, Yang Yunxi, Li Ju, Guo Si, and Wang Kuolin Sai Wen, the two Blood Wolf Mountain duo who can be regarded as high-level personnel, are really adding on. On his personal secret, Lu Zhong, out of the total of 6 people, the 3 that he summoned are not to mention. They all belong to the IQ basin. Li Ju's history book said that he was still a bit strategic, but now it seems that he is in the arrogance of Ziliang. It's just a dwarf pulled out of the dwarfs in the husband's circle. The remaining 3 Wang Kui and Lu Zhong are all at the level of ordinary people. Lin Saiwen is considered to have read books, but after Lu Yan's observation, this month is on the same level as himself. With the addition of his historical vision of 5,000 years in his previous life, this product is not as good as itself. This also led Lu Yan to urgently want to summon a reliable external brain. After some metaphysical prayers, Lu Yan started the second summon. It seems that Lu Yan's lucky value was used up in the first round. This time, the summoning was not ideal, and the card with purple light gradually revealed its true face. A tall and straight figure, a handsome face, and a striking flying fish suit. He is another handsome guy, and he seems to be a Jinyue. The one who is eligible to be selected by the system must be a commander-level figure of Jinyue. And when this person's name was revealed, Lu Yan's face also showed a clear look. Name, Lu Bing, Courtesy Name Wenming Constitution, Crescent Moon Demon Auxiliary Technique, Moon Demon Sword Cultivation, True Yuan Realm 3rd Layer Systematic Review, Purple Brief Introduction, Lu Bing, Yu Kanshu www.yuyuganshu.com Civilization, Commander of Jinyue in Ming Dynasty, once rescued Emperor Jiajing from a fire at the risk of death, and was very much used and favored by the Emperor. The only person who also serves as the 3 orphans. The introduction of the system is quite simple, but Lu Yan is still quite impressed by this leader of the strongest era of Jinyue. Lu Bing's mother was the nurse of Jiajing Emperor Zhu Hujun, and she risked her life to save Jiajing when she was on duty in the palace. Jiajing's trust. The life of such a spy chief is somewhat complicated. As the commander of Jinyue, the roadside is a sword in the hands of Emperor Jiajing, but he is also the most trusted minister of Jiajing, at least like Sangong and Sangwu. No ordinary spy chief can sit there. Lu Bing has never been a stalwart in his life. He has taken bribes to collect money, persecuted Xia Yan, and colluded with Yan Song. Lu Bing has done all these things, but he has also protected many people. Officials were also treated very favorably. Historical records say that he never framed one person, and many people in the DPRK praised him. As for Lu Bing's opinion, Lu Yan thinks more about his position. In the final analysis, Jinyue is a sword in the hands of the Emperor. All power comes from the Emperor, and many times he does not have the right to choose. Although Lu Yan was a little worried about not summoning a resourceful person, Lu Bing, as a veteran of the officialdom and a person of ordinary quality, is not low in IQ and emotional intelligence, but on the contrary, it is still very high. When the characters are in power, they can still mix well, and they are absolutely comparable to others. For Lu Yan, it can be regarded as a very reliable help. Afterwards, Lu Yan summoned Lu Bing. Next, there was another mysterious Lord Lu in Qiang City, but no one cared about it at this time. The Yu family's side army had already arrived. What did you say? Lu Yan frowned and looked at Lu Bing with a surprised tone. Lu Bing shook his head slightly and said, "My lord, I have already checked. The group of people 3 kilometers away should be targeting us. How many troops does the other party have?" Lu Yan asked again. There are about 5,000 people, and it is already at the level of a partial army. Judging from the banner, it should belong to the Yu family, but the leading generals are not strong, only the Xiantian realm, General Yan Sini, and Li Juguo Si. 2 generals are enough to wipe them out. Lu Bing is not panicking. They now have 4 true Yuan realm soldiers, a mere 5,000 soldiers, and no real Yuan realm powerhouses to lead the team. It is no different from a group of native chickens and dogs coming to deliver food to them. The key is not this. Qiang City has been slaughtered by the Yu family before. It stands to reason that for the Yu family, Qiang City should have no value. I heard that after Yuming finished fighting Qiang City, he joined the Feng family's army. Going to attack Yuyang City Lord Du Xiaofeng, the strongest among the 12 city lords. Even if we know that we have taken Qiang City, we shouldn't have drawn out a 5,000 strong army to attack us at this time. Lu Yan rubbed the bridge of his nose. I was quite puzzled by Yujia's sudden action. At this time, Liu Bing said, Yuming is busy attacking Du Xiaofeng at this time, and naturally he will not take the initiative to divide his troops to attack us at this time. In the joint action of the two, the Feng family can allow the Yu family to divide their troops to engage us at this time, which is also strange. What do you say? Lu Yan looked up at Liu Bing. Liu Bing is also an old fritter in the officialdom, and he can handle the struggle between old foxes like Yan Song and Su Ji with ease. In addition to his favor of the Jiajing Emperor, he is sensitive to both business and politics. Sex is also important. I'm afraid this order is the meaning of the upper class of the imperial court, and even the current King Sheng. Liu Bing paused, and then said, after all, Lu Yan was just a small shrimp in the eyes of the Feng family of Yujia at this time, even if he had an opinion. Destroying Lu Yan can be done at any time, and it is the same when he turns around after defeating Du Xiaofeng, but he looks impatient and seems to attach great importance to Lu Yan. But if he really pays attention, why would he send only one side army? This is obviously a form of contempt and disdain, just like completing the task. This feeling is very clear and familiar to Liu Bing. Jin Yiwei often handles cases just like in this way, there is no reason, it is just the intention of the superiors. When the order is given, it will be done quickly. As for why Jin Yiwei is set up, it does not matter. Damn, I've already arrived in the southern border and don't want to let me go. Lu Yan's expression was a little gloomy. He was never a saint, he was ambitious, and he was very vengeful. Back then, the situation in Shengjing was mixed, and there were so many bigwigs that even whoever drove him out of the city doesn't know, but now the situation is clear, and if he wants to hurt himself now, he thinks it's either the Sui family or the Sheng Wang, or both. At this moment, Lu Yan has already held a grudge against these families, and he will take revenge in time. Then get ready to fight now. Lu Yan didn't want to think about the reason, so he asked Liu Bing to call everyone else over and prepare to fight. After a while, Lu Yan's subordinates from Liu Bing, Yang Yanxi to Lin Saiwen and Wang Kui had all gathered in Lu Yan's courtyard. If you dare to be detrimental to the Lord, Li Ju, Guo Si, is willing to kill them all for the Lord. Li Ju and Guo Si took the lead in saying murderously, these two killers have been training for a while, and if they don't see any more blood, they'll be suffocated. And Yang Yunxi is not the master of Ansheng, so he was naturally excited when he heard that there was a fight. Lu Yan then said, this time there are not many enemy troops, and there are no masters. A few of them should be able to solve it. After speaking, Lu Yan looked at Liu Bing, who also nodded slightly. At this time, the embryo-killing duo, who have always been careless, raised an objection. My lord, I don't recommend a few of us to deal with it. Soldiers need to see blood to grow up. The Ziliang Iron Cavalry back then was trained in a sea of corpses. This battle is a rare opportunity. I think it can be done. Let the soldiers go into battle and experience it. As a general under Dong Zhou in the past, Li Ju was a real commander who held the hands of soldiers. Although his IQ belonged to the basin, his understanding of his soldiers far exceeded that of Liu Bing. As for Yang Yunxi, although he was a general, he was also very brave, but when he died, he was only a teenager under the wings of his father and brother has no experience in commanding the army at all. Lu Yan also thought about Li Ju's words and thought it was very reasonable. Although the soldiers will lose, after all, soldiers are used to fight. If they are kept in a vase for a lifetime, they will be abandoned. Yang Yunxi and Liu Bing will both supervise the battle and control the battle loss ratio. Okay. Lu Yan made a decision and asked Li Ju and Guo Si to assemble his soldiers immediately and prepare to fight. Now when Liu Bing came to report, they were already very close to Qiang city, and now I'm afraid they are almost at the gate of the city. The soldiers were very fast, and Li Ju and Guo Si were not mediocre talents. They quickly organized the team. Yang Yunzi and Liu Bing didn't have time to go out of the city to monitor the position of Yujia's side army. Yu Zixiao is the commander-in-chief of this side army. As a direct descendant of the Yu family, Yu Zixiao is not outstanding, and he is incomparable to a candidate for the next patriarch like Yuming. At the age of 26, relying on the accumulation of family resources is not enough. Only worthy of reaching the 5th level of congenital cultivation, but Yu Zixiao and Yuming are the same father, but Yu Zixiao was born to Yuming's father's second wife, so Yuming is also very supportive. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com. This is also clearly Yu Zixiao's talent is mediocre, but he can get the support of considerable resources, and Yuming often takes him by his side. This time, Yuming also felt that it was a small matter, so he took his younger brother to experience and keep him by his side. Sooner or later, he would be retired. Although Yuming didn't put Lu Yan in his heart, Yu Zixiao was quite attentive. Although Yu Zixiao had mediocre aptitudes, his temperament was still good. To be cautious, this is why Yuming is willing to support him. Is Qiang City in front? Yu Zixiao could see the city of Qiang City 2 or 3 miles away from a distance. Half of the city wall of the former frontier city had collapsed. The faint smoke from the cooking was enough to show that although the city wall was broken, Qiang City was not a dead city. Hurry up, it's getting late, let's hurry up and get back to Yuyang in time. With a loud shout, Yu Zixiao swung down the whip fiercely, and the cavalry behind him sped up and rushed towards Qiang City. And just where they didn't notice, Liu Bing and Yang Yunzi were watching them. At this time, Li Ju and Guo Si in the city had already prepared their soldiers and were ready to fight at any time. Li Ju and Guo Si are standing on both sides of the prepared army, while Wang Kui is standing in front of the army. This time, Wang Kui is at the forefront. If Li Ju and Guo Si are the masters of the real Yuan realm, they will not be able to attack. To hone their role. And the soldiers who were preparing for the battle were also in high spirits at the moment. At this time, in their first battle, they would not be cowardly, because Lu Yan behind them was their lord, the lord who got them out of exile, and gave them food. Eat the lord. The scholars died for their confidence, and they were willing to dedicate their lives for such a master. Outside Qiang City, Yu Zixiao glanced coldly at Wang Kui in the distance, as well as the more than 3,000 beggar soldiers under his command who did not even have armor. Although Yu Zixiao was a cautious person, he did not feel that such an army was such a force. Threaten him. Why are you here? Now Lu Yan doesn't plan to show up, and Li Ju and Guo Si don't want to show up now, so the questions before the war are naturally handed over to Wang Kui. Yu Zixiao did not answer directly, but first looked at Wang Kui. Honestly speaking, the cultivation of the innate second layer is not bad. At least if Yu Zixiaochun is relying on himself and not the family, I am afraid that there is no such cultivation. As for the soldiers behind him, although their faces were yellow and skinny, and their breath was weak, the marching formation was not at all chaotic, and there was a faint murderous aura between their brows and eyes. After watching Yu Zixiao's eyes, he returned to Wang Kui again, and this time there was a touch of admiration in his eyes. If the person in front of him was not Lu Yan, he would be a talent that could be absorbed. The Yu family has no shortage of innate realms who can fight, but there is never too little a general who can train troops. Wang Kui didn't care about Yu Zixiao's thoughts at this time. He was still very nervous now. He had to know that Wang Kui was originally a deserter from the southern border. Although the reasons for him being a deserter are complicated, he is still a deserter after all. There is an inexplicable resistance and cowardice in his bones. Although Li Ju and Guo Si have tortured and trained him a lot during this time, Wang Kui's cultivation has also made breakthroughs, but this kind of emotion from the heart could not be resolved, so at first Li Ju said that when Wang Kui wanted him to be the main general of this battle, Wang Kui did not want to agree. However, there are highs and lows of fear, at least for Wang Kui, the fear of being a general is far less than the fear of Li Ju's methods. At the top of the city, Lu Yan, Lu Zhong, Li Ju, Guo Si, Lin Siwen, and others were all watching the movements of the city. Now it seems that neither of them is in a hurry. The mind of Wang Kui is Li Ju's plan, the enemy will not move me. Originally, the battle that Li Ju led the Ziliang Iron Cavalry in the past was just one word: reckless. Reckless where? Reckless death, reckless to the opponent was pressed to death on the ground before he could react. But that was the job of the elite Ziliang Iron Cavalry, not the 3,000 beggar soldiers who have not seen blood, and most of them have no horses. In Li Ju's opinion, it doesn't matter if the soldiers have no equipment, and it doesn't matter if they don't have enough to eat. Back then, the Ziliang Iron Cavalry was able to sweep the world. It wasn't because of the fact that it was in Chang'an. Of course, there were none of these. After all, the Ziliang Iron Cavalry back then had already become a ghost. But it is the fierceness that chooses people and devours them, and the iron blood that will end in death. When the will is so strong, death can be resisted. And now the 3,000 soldiers under Lu Yan, even though they have improved under the training of Li Ju and Guo Si, the peony stone is still far from the real Ziliang Iron Cavalry. It is a qualitative gap, and this gap it takes a battle to smooth it out. This is the reason why Li Ju insists on letting the soldiers take the lead. Even if there is a loss, even if they fail, they must fight. Although Lu Yan can let Liu Bing and Yang Xi and the others take action, they will not lose a single person, but they will lose this. After a baptism, the soldiers will go to the battlefield after all. Lu Yan can protect them for a while but not for the rest of his life. His tone will wait until the day when the entire army is wiped out by the beatings. It is better to let them grow up early when the losses can still be controlled now. Why are you here? Seeing that Yu Zixiao didn't answer his first question, Wang Kui asked the second question sharply, but Yu Zixiao, who was in front of Wang Kui at the moment, noticed the slight trembling in Wang Kui's voice. Lu Yan and the others on the same tower naturally heard it. Lu Yan and others seemed to be nervous that this was Wang Kui's first time leading the army, but in Yu Zixiao's eyes, it was a lack of confidence. In his heart, Yu Zixiao felt that the battle was stable. Come and destroy you. Yu Zixiao finally replied, although the opponent had 3,000 men and horses, which was a bit beyond his expectations, but said that most of the land was only infantry, and behind him were the 5,000 elite cavalry of the Yu family, plus his innate 5-layer cultivation. Well, it's not a big problem to ask yourself. Rush! Yu Zixiao gave orders, and the cavalry behind him swarmed up and rushed towards Wang Kui's 3,000 recruits. This charge is too rough. Looking at the scene under the city, Li Ju said with disdain, obviously he did not think highly of Yu Zixiao, and at this time Liu Bing and Yang Yunzi had also returned to the city tower. Is there? It looks pretty awesome, doesn't it? Liu Bing doesn't have much of a cold about the military. He has been a Jinyue all his life, and his skills are all focused on intelligence investigation and political maneuvering. You don't understand. Guo Si, who had been diving all the time, also bubbling, said with a somewhat inscrutable tone. After the two of them spoke, they both showed smug smiles at the corners of their mouths at the same time, which was a rare moment of IQ highlight, and this naturally could not escape Liu Bing's eyes. Liu Bing gave them a white look, but said nothing. At this time, the confrontation between the two sides under the city had already begun. Although Yu Zixiao's commanding level was unsightly in the eyes of Li Ju and Guo Si, but after all, where was the gap between the soldiers of the two sides? Yu Zixiao soon killed Wang Kui and his subordinates. Scattered. The advantage of cavalry over infantry has already appeared. Fortunately, Wang Kui asked his soldiers to use spears against cavalry in time. This move was handed down by Yang Yunzi. This move was used by the Song army against Liao cavalry in the past. This is the basic Yang Ye has also taught Yang Yunzi. The hindrance of the spear can be regarded as containing the victory of Yu Zixiao, and it also makes Yu Zixiao uncomfortable, but at this time Yu Zixiao has been restrained by Wang Kui, and his cultivation base is higher than Wang Kui, but the gap is still under control within the range. Although Wang Kui was clearly at a disadvantage and the fight was very thrilling, Yu Zixiao was obviously unable to escape. At this time, the people on the city wall were also calculating their losses, and it was time for Li Ju, Guo Si, and others to take action. Compared with the calmness of the outstanding people who were summoned, Lin Siwen, who was Wang Kui's best friend, was not so calm. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com watched Wang Kui's adventures again and again, and he was also worried. As time passed, Lu Yan's side's disadvantage had become bigger and bigger, and the damage to his soldiers had already exceeded 100. Among them, Yang Yunzi had been helping off the field, and once his own soldiers fell, he would jump in and rescue them. Go ahead. Lu Yan took a deep breath, and then said. Li Ju and Guo Si heard the words, and immediately jumped down the city gate with a knife at the same time. Formation. Li Ju let out a stern roar, and the soldiers of Lu Yan's side, who were in a hard fight, were also in high spirits. On the other side, Guo Si had already entered the battle, waving a big sword in his palm, and blood flowers flew in the air. Yu Zixiao naturally saw this scene. You dare! After a while, Guo Si's sword had already added the dead souls of more than 100 members of the famous family. Yu Zixiao's eyes were about to split, and he roared. He slammed the spear in his hand and directly shook the scarred Wang Kui away. Rush to Guo Si. At this time, Yang Yunzi and Liu Bing had also entered the arena. As the most powerful person under Lu Yan's command, Yang Yunzi used a heavy spear that was even more powerful in this chaotic battle. The long spear swept away several dead souls. And Liu Bing on the other side is not far behind, an embroidered spring knife is elegant in his hand, and the cold light of the moon is full of demonic aura. At this moment, Liu Bing is recklessly harvesting his life in this chaotic battle like a of death. On the other side, Yu Zixiao went to Guo Si, and at this time Guo Si was already on the rise to kill. When he saw the lift of his foot when he opened the door, he was kicked, so Yu Zixiao was kicked and flew out with a ghostly expression. 80 meters away. The shaking internal organs, followed by severe pain, Yu Zixiao couldn't care about the blood spilling from the corner of his mouth, and turned to look at Guo Si in disbelief. True Yuan Jing? How is that possible?